After welding the most difficult corner of the bonnet, I carried on with the rest of the repairs.
This corner should be a little bit easier to do because the outer skin is still intact with the lip, so I just need to peel that back and put my repair section in underneath. On this side I had to do both the inside and the outside. The rust still stretches quite a distance along here. I just think the best thing to do is to do it all in one go.
I started by carefully cutting halfway through the depth of the front lip so I could fold it back. Then I could prise it open using this lever. It's not even welded in, it's just held by the clamping force of that fold. So I welded in a repair piece which I made exactly the same as the one for the other corner in the last video, and then hammered the flange back over the repair.
I have been racking my head about what am I going to do with this section here. Well, I do a piece around here, a piece here, and then maybe a big one here, but then what about bits around that? And going around in circles, and you know, that turns it into maybe being 3 or 4 little jobs. So I've just decided I'm going to cut the whole thing out. I went and got some reinforcements. I went and cut up an old door off the donor Talbot. So I've got plenty of steel now, and I'll clean up this sealant from the lip here to make it easy to peel it off, and then we'll cut a big section out and see how we get on.
I wire brushed out all the sealant from the seam because this is the only thing that grips the two panels together. I marked out where I'm going to make my cuts. Taking in all the scarred metal. I then started cutting down through and following my lines. Prized up that flange and then use this to chisel it out. Using the vise here to keep my hands away from all the sharp edges. This technique seems to work quite well for tapping it out. All in one nice big piece. There were 2 spot welds there near where the bonnet clasps shut. I ground them off and then continued cleaning off all my edges. One little bit to twist off. Then I wire wheeled back all the paint so I wouldn't be causing too much burning. Then I welded along here. Had to make a really big template. And I kind of pressed the edges and then traced them with a marker. And look at this. This really worked out well. Just fit nicely out of that panel I'd cut. I could say I planned that, but I didn't. Cut it out. Some people lose patience seeing me using the snips for these long cuts instead of the cutting disc on the grinder, but I just find that you end up much closer to your line and the panels fit up easier when you go to fitting them. So I formed it as best I could in the vise using my meter lengths of angle iron again. An easy enough section, basically just 2 folds. I drilled out a hole there for the spot welds for later, and it fitted in nicely. Two tacks to hold it in place, and then join them all up. Hammer back down the flange then. I'll use a sealant on this at a later stage. Just welding up the little join back in the flange. Now to the other side. I made sure I had enough steel to repair a long section in one go. By doing it in one big piece, I'd only actually have to weld at both ends. Carefully cut halfway through the lip as per the other side. Wire wheeled off all the sealant that would grip it, and then prized it out again, like the others. Smaller lever, fits really nice, and I just tapped it the whole way along. It just lifted the edge enough to release the old piece. Cleaned in underneath it, the wire wheel. I'd give that a little bit of primer before fitting in the piece. Marked it now. I had the hole, so I'd have the exact right length. I hammered the piece that I cut out flat to get the length of metal I'd need. And theoretically, I should have enough then after I folded it. Cut it out again. Then started working it in the vise. One basic fold down the middle, and then the idea was to pull out the 2 flat parts. Just worked my way along the whole length there, clamping it. Then held one edge and then started lifting the other a bit. Once I'd gone all the way along, I was able to push it down closer to the actual line where the fold would be, and prized it up again. A bit messy at first, but then clamped it again over its full length and got those edges straight, and now I'm just pressing it now to pop up that center ridge again. Did that the whole way along, and now I had plenty of space to make the full fold. When I trial fitted, I realised it needed a bit of a curve. I'd actually marked it there already, and I was just checking it. So I was ready to make the cut with the grinder this time. I primed it so that the edge that was going to be clamped by the lip would have a bit of paint on it, and then fitted it into place. Just get a weld on the front, and then I could lever it up and weld the back. Fold it over the edge again and rejoined it with the rest of the lip. So cleaned off all my welds, flap wheel, got it all nice and smooth. And then, with the panel looking lovely, I prepared to start making some serious cuts in it. I traced out the original drain holes in it, drilled some pilot holes, and then used a hole saw to cut out the original shapes. On the narrower piece, I just used a drill to simulate the original holes. I would join the dots using the cutting disc in the grinder. I cleaned up the edges with a grinding disc. That was worn down a bit, made it the ideal size to fit in. Then I used a sanding block to roughen up the primer that I'd applied to the panel at the start, so that the next coat of paint would key in. I degreased the whole thing. And made up 200 ml of paint. It was the 50-50 mix of paint to hardener. Used a small tight spray pattern to do the insides of the box section, not worrying about any runs on the top side, as this is really just a treatment rather than a finish. I'll come to that when the panel gets its colour, when the rest of the van's cab is complete. I'm really happy how this has turned out. The Talbot has a bonnet again.